Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome to Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us, 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Emilio in Tennessee. We got Tim in a snowy Green Bay, man. It sounds like you guys were expecting about 3 to 5 inches up there. Is that right, Tim?
Yeah, it's getting there. Little less than a foot on the ground already.
Yeah, I know you already sent this over earlier today. I'm just going to kind of play it in the background here. I wish we could go full screen, but boy, that's a dream come true right there, fellas. I don't know how y'all feel, but I love it. Tim's about tired of it.
Had to roll through, check on practice, make sure everything was copacetic, and yeah, man, nothing but snow plows and a little bit of Lil Wayne blasting out of the speakers over there at Clark Hinkle Field. Mm-hmm. Guys putting in work in the snow.
Tim checking on practice is him doing donuts in the parking lot across
basically, yeah. This was 5 minutes before security escorted me out of Lambeau. Yeah,
Tim hopped that green fence right there and went over with the clipboard and the thing. That's what happened, really. And then, of course, you had this awesome shot here of Clark Hinkle Field or Radianski Field. I'm sorry, that's gorgeous, dude. I love what they did too. Like it was explained to me, and maybe it was explained inaccurate. I don't know, Tim. You could probably attest to this, but the reason the Packers chose brick and green wrought iron is because they wanted everything to feel like a packing company type thing, right? Almost like a warehouse type feel, right? Am I thinking right?
Kind of industrial type of vibe. And you can really see that too, ever since they did the atrium and the remodeling from the very beginning, just how the whole facade of Lambeau Field kind of has that same kind of brick look. And yeah, it's beautiful in the window though. We had that snow globe type of snow today falling over Titletown, so figured I'd stop by, check on things, play in the snow a little bit.
Exactly. We know what was really going on. I know we got Drew D in the house here. Says Go Pack Go. Drew lives right there, obviously in Green Bay as well, just a short walk from Lambeau, if I remember correctly. So I'm sure he's over there. Of course, he lives in an apartment complex. That's the beautiful thing about apartment complex, right, Tim? You ain't got to worry about that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Let everybody else
have a driveway to shovel, right?
That's
you
so
just
true.
stare out the window and sip your coffee and watch them shovel it, right? So there are positives to that for sure. All right, so let's do this, guys. Let's give a quick shout out to the sponsors tonight. We're going to get into a bunch of information. I feel like we're 2 weeks behind. Obviously, we took 1 day off, and I'm just like over here, like, okay, what do we got to get caught up? But let's give it. All right, boys, let's just kind of jump into it. Do you guys got anything off the top here that you'd like to hit on before we dive into some of the information we're going to cover? And we pretty much we can go a multitude of directions. I was going to go to Twitter and I was trying to keep up over the last couple of days while we were in North Carolina, just to see what was going on across Packers Twitter. And boy, it got really interesting, man, there with old whiny ass Ryan Clark and Aaron Rodgers, didn't you guys see that?
Yeah. As much as I could tolerate. Yeah, I saw some of that.
Yeah, I didn't even finish watching Clark's his video. I watched like the first minute and a half and was like, all right, I'm gonna pass on to the next thing.
I did binge watch the entire Enigma documentary on Netflix though. Mm-hmm. So we did the right thing and watched all of that.
Yeah, it's really good, man. Really good.
I need to.
I love too. There's been a lot of people that have been kind of anti-Rodgers and they're tweeting and posting about it like, hey man, this dude's it's a good dude. It's a good guy.
Because they brought that up in Matt's presser. They were asking him because so correct me if I'm wrong, but basically they were saying that Ted had a reason in like drafting Love or something. That was like what the argument was about. And Matt was basically kind of saying, I think it's like, I don't remember saying that, but I think I was trying to get to the point of, what Ted did in drafting Rodgers was kind of the same sort of mentality of Goody drafting, Jordan, just in a different time frame, different era, all those things. But he's like, I don't know how it got edited or taken out of, how they put it into context, but that's really where he was trying to get to with it.
Yep.
It's funny how that works too. Like he literally what he was saying, and when he said it, that's the way I took it. And then you seen Twitter blow. I'm like, oh, I must have took that the wrong way. Holy cow! So they're saying that.
So that's what were they trying to say?
Yeah. So basically, the way I originally took it was Ted did the same thing. Ted made the call to draft Aaron when Brett was here, right?
Okay.
Rodgers, who the only place he's going to take you to is the toilet bowl, and then you got Brett Favre, who will take you to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm just saying, we're not going to talk about it.
So the way I took it, video is it's like
Classic.
Yeah, it's on the.
That's the one that stayed on the. That's the one that stayed in there in the category. That's the only one that stayed.
So I took it as like, right initially was like he's just kind of drawing a comparison, a parallel. Then Twitter blew up, and it was like immediately the toxic people were like, "Whoa, Goody didn't make that pick, Ted did, haha." So that's like the big golden goose of Brian Gutekunst's tenure, right? And then Matt comes out, from what I understand, and set the record straight and was like, "Yeah, I didn't mean it like that." Basically, Tim, am I off base here? Is that what happened?
That's exactly what happened, And you got a bunch of people out here obsessed with, being right about everything or picking apart every story and, drafting a narrative. Like, let's be honest, Ted set the standard, right? You take a quarterback when you don't need one. You draft him. You don't throw him into the fire right away. You let him sit behind a legend and develop. I mean, the formula is no secret. So I think Matt LaFleur was just, telling the truth. Yeah, of course Ted Thompson had a hand in it because Goody was his understudy, and of course Goody's going to take this to the next level as we go into the future, and that's why he's in the position that he's in. So I think people just kind of, took it and ran with it. A little bit of an overreaction, I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. So we got that covered. Again, that may come back up here in a little bit on Twitter. But let's see what Drew D says here. He says, "That's right, man. I swear it doesn't matter how many times I adjust this. Tim's face is always cut up.
That's all right.
I don't know what to do.
You're not missing anything.
This is unbelievable. Like, seriously, man, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm so tired of changing it.
There you go.
Here's a guy.
We'll just cover up Amelia. That'd be fine." Drew D says, "That's right, Clayton. I live in an apartment, so the closest I come to shoveling is my dog Loki, watching the snow plows out the window. That's what I'm talking about. That's the high life right there.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff, buddy. So all right. So again, that whole conversation might get brought up when we walk through Twitter here in a second and look at all the Packers news that's hit the last few days. But let's get on to the Patreon group here. This is Patreon question of the day from Nick McSwain. Said, "I heard on a podcast, Blue 58. He's usually very on point. Really good podcast.
Yeah, love that. I listened to this one. So
yeah, that Quay's 5th-year option would be $15 million, of course, fully guaranteed. And Wyatt's would be $13 million fully guaranteed. I know this was talked about recently, but the numbers weren't mentioned. Do you all think they pick up either of these or pick either of these up? Sorry. They both seem like a big overpay. This is exactly what we were talking about. And we did not mention, you're right, Nick, we didn't mention the specific numbers. I'm sure they were on SpoTrack. We could have looked it up. But for me, I would not be interested in those two salaries right there, right? And again, it's fully guaranteed. Now, what we did learn through the Darnell Savage one, if I remember correctly, first time I'd ever seen this done on the Packers roster, and I'm sure it's happened across the league in other senses, they were able to tack on voidable years and spread that out, right? But for me, that's just it's too steep of a price tag, but that's just my opinion. Let's go around the horn here with it. Tim, what do you think? Would you be willing to pay $15 million for Quay for 1 year fully guaranteed, or $13 million for Devonte Wyatt fully guaranteed for 1 year?
Quay is my dude, right? But, he's in a walking boot right now. So I don't know about a bunch of guaranteed money just yet. And I do agree. It seems a bit steep, a little bit high. Both of these numbers, actually. I guess if you had to pick one, it's crazy as it sounds, I'd probably pay Devonte Wyatt, and see what we can do, maybe restructuring Quay or getting him to sign something different. But I think they're both definitely a little steep. Seems a little high.
Yeah. Emilio, what about you, buddy?
yeah. So when I was listening to it, John was saying that he would pick up Wyatt's 13 and he wouldn't touch Quay's. He's not like a number one, but even still, that 13 is fully guaranteed to Wyatt. I get that we're trying to hold the floor, of our D line, but I'm not mad about where Carl Brooks is at, and I'm not mad about the few opportunities Wooden's getting. It's tough. We didn't take Stokes. Cool. Quay's I don't think we can take. Wyatt would be the one that I still would probably lean no on at the moment. It's just because we have to make a decision by next year, right? Before the start of next year.
Yep.
So
actually, no. It's when is it you got to pick it up? I think it's this off season. Like it's
like April or like before the draft or something.
Really early. We need to look. I guarantee you, Drew can find it really, really quick. Drew, if you don't care, man, look up that date. When did we? The best way to find it is when did we sign Darnell Savage's 5th-year option? Right. That would be the more recent one. So it should be right. Give a week or two.
And I mean, look at it like that. We signed Darnell Savage. What did we like about him? His athleticism, his ability to play. He was decent, I guess, off the start, and we thought that we could make something with it. That would lean more towards, Wyatt. But Quay, literally, when Matt was talking about Quay today and how, Edgerrin Cooper, obviously down the road, we want him to be interchangeable at Mike and stuff. But right now, Coop is not ready to handle the dot. It's just that's just not going to happen right now. And that's nothing against Coop. And they were asking, why didn't he play? We got to get him out there more. But Quay has been handling this defense. That would be the only look at the problem is the 15. Like if it wasn't fully guaranteed and it was like a 2-year deal at 15, all right, maybe let's work that. But I think that's the issue.
Got it. Drew D says May 2nd, I believe. That was around the time that I was thinking too. So it's like you've got to be prepared to make that decision before the draft, really, because you don't know how the draft's going to fall, right? And then, like, let's say you go in going, okay, we may hit Devonte Wyatt with the 5th-year option, right? But then the draft falls perfectly in your lap, and you get a good 3-tech, and you're like, hey, this dude right here, he's going to be the future of our defensive line. Then maybe you don't pick it up, right? Mm-hmm. So it's right around that time post-draft. I was thinking it was like I knew it wasn't June, but I was kind of thinking it might be before the draft, but it sounds like it's probably right after the draft.
Right. But yeah, no, I definitely – that's just not something that we need to dive right into. It's not if we want to spend that kind of money, let's look in free agency if there's someone coming over. That's something we could look at. I like Chris's point here. That's where, we're getting to is Chris said I'd rather do a multi-year extension with both than pay that huge number. And I think that's where Goody leans to most of the time anyway. Let's get that contract done and getting in front of them before – we move on. This would be the year we'd be talking about Christian Watson's 5th-year extension or 5th-year option. Would that be something right now? Say we did end up picking him up in the first, right? Clay Tim, would that be one you pick up right now if he was at the 13 or 15? Say he's at 14 million. Would you pick him up?
You talking about Christian Watson?
Yeah.
It's tough, man. I hate the 5th-year option. I despise it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why do we? And we're not. It's just I feel like it's a niche thing where you need to use it.
Right. To me, it's the only time I'm on board with using the 5th-year option, and it's obvious I'm in the extreme minority because teams use it all the time. Is if you got a guy that's just an absolute freaking superstar. Imagine T.J. Watt, and it's like, damn, he's going to break the bank. His cap number with a new extension would probably be more than the 5th-year option. Let's hit the 5th-year option, right? That's the reason the Savage thing is just like, I know we talked about it a lot, Tim, but it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, that defies logic. I still don't get it.
Yeah, for sure. So, again, as far as the multi-year extension, if it's a team-friendly deal, absolutely. I'm not saying here. Now, here's the other thing. You got to step back and put yourself in the player's position, right? How are they looking at that? If you come at them for a multi-year extension, and let's say you go to, let's just say it's Quay, right? He's looking at a 1-year, $15 million 5th-year option.
Right.
And you come to him and say, hey, man, we'll give you $15 million fully guaranteed, 3-year deal worth, let's just say 3 years, $15 million. You're still getting your $15 million, but it's over the course of 3 years. He's going to go, I'm hitting free agency.
Right.
You can pay me the $15 million or I'm testing free agency, right? So what'll probably happen is they'll probably give the 5th-year option to both of these guys. I'm just being real. If it were me, I would let them both test free agency because Wyatt has not shown enough in the running game, in my opinion, to pay him top 5 defensive tackle money. And he's the one who makes the most sense of the two. If you're making me choose one, it's definitely Wyatt over Quay at $13 million because those interior defensive linemen are getting paid a ton of money. Linebackers, they don't get me wrong, the Fred Warners, those guys, they get paid good money, but nothing like those defensive tackles, hopefully that makes sense. But anything else you guys want to hit on there? Another angle you want to look at it or no?
No, I don't think so because we have depth kind of coming into both of those, so I'm not really mad at where it's sitting. At least they've backfilled it.
Definitely. Okay. Al, okay. I hope I said that right. Says, you son of a guns have become my favorites. Hey, we appreciate that, man. I feel bad for you that we're your favorite, but because this show sucks. But thank you so much for the kind words, and we appreciate you being a part of what we're doing here, man, for sure. Let's see here. Christian says, I bet you Dome Donuts, Clayton Goot doesn't give the 5th year to either of them. Really? Okay. Let's do it. A dozen of donuts. All right, Chris?
Okay. What kind of Krispy Kreme? What are we talking here? Dunk?
Kreme all day long.
Yeah, okay. Phew.
Yeah. Tim, what's your favorite donut? Man, you look like a man that eats a lot of donuts.
I'm down with anything that doesn't have filling. I'm not a big filling.
Jelly donuts.
No jelly donut. Nah, not my steez. Give me a good old like cake donut. I like those. Or just give me the glazed with the sprinkles or something.
There you go.
Keep it simple. Keep it classy.
Yeah.
See, I like the cream fill. I'm a chocolate covered cream fill for me, man.
Go ahead.
No, you're good.
No, I was saying. Chris N said 1 dozen Krispies. We used to stop at Krispies during our lacrosse trips. I bought 4 dozen of those, right? 4 dozen, brought them back onto the bus, started selling them at $2 a pop per donut. I was making a killing. You should have seen these guys. They were starving.
Tim, can you do me a favor, bro?
What's that?
That ticker, the banner where we got Jacob having to get a tattoo on his left ass cheek. Let's put up there, bet Chris N versus Clayton.
Okay.
And put neither Quay or Wyatt 5th year option, right?
Yep.
Then Clayton would owe Chris N the donuts.
Yep.
Just put a reminder in there. Okay?
Krispies. Yeah, no, that's good. We need to mark that because that's something we're not going to have in the show notes.
So
but
again,
I like that bet.
Mm-hmm. Again, what Chris N's saying is, just to get it right here, Tim, right? I bet you a dozen donuts that Goot doesn't give the 5th year option to either of them. Okay?
Right.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
So,
All we need is one. I'm taking 4 of those donuts for sure. You're sending them down here.
Let's go. We'll send 2 to Emilio. We'll send 2 to Tim, and then my fat rear end will take the rest. All right, that's how that's going to work. So, but all right, cool. So again, that's Patreon a question. Great question, Nick. I love those type of questions, man. We try not to bore the crowd with a bunch of contract talk. I don't ever want it to become something where it's, hey, let's do something because I enjoy talking about it, right? I want it to be what the listeners want, what the viewers want. So it's awesome when that lines up because I love talking contracts. I love talking roster building, all that stuff. It's one of my faves. So, and I do want to give a shout out real quick to our newest Patreon members, Latrell Hoy. Appreciate you, buddy, joining the PTA posse over on Patreon, and also Mike Norris. Are the most recent members that have joined. So thank you guys for supporting us. We'll make sure we get you guys into the drawing for future giveaways for sure. So
too old for this in the chat says I look like a bagel with no cream cheese guy. Really, dude?
Unbelievable.
Shots fired already. We're
unbelievable. Over the bow, Tim. Are you ready for that?
Man. First of all, I'm a bagel with extra cream cheese kind of guy. You gotta do that everything bagel seasoning all over
on
it
top
too.
of an everything bagel seasoning of everything bagel on top on the cream.
That's right.
Definitely.
That's
cool. I love hearing people like Tim call it a bagel. Like you notice that, Amelia? We're down there going, give me a bagel.
A bagel.
Tim, I'm sure Tim is correct on that, but everybody in the South says bagel, and you guys kind of say it's like the further northeast you get too, they go more toward bagel, right?
Yeah, that's kind of where I land.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we have the whole Scotty thing, Scotty accent going on. I can't help it. I mean, we make up our own words here and stuff. I'm from Milwaukee. We have drinking fountains are called bubblers where I'm from. So don't trust anything. What?
What you call it? We call it a water fountain over here. Water fountain.
Yeah, water fountain, I would say.
You stay away from them though, don't you?
Yeah.
Imagine my surprise the first time I was in the South and I was like, hey, you guys got a bubbler anywhere? And they looked at me like I was from another planet.
Well, you want some champagne, bro? Really? Yeah. Okay, gotcha. So again, shout out to the Patreon guys. Also, we have not heard from Lyrical Killer. Probably cutting it out.
Oh man, I think he's on tour right now.
And we have not heard from Greg in Green Bay. So if I don't hear from either of those guys in the next 24 hours, then the autographed Lucas Van Ness jersey will go to Matrix Jackson.
That's right. Matrix was in here. He got a hold of you, Clay?
He got a hold of me. So he's going to be the winner if we don't hear from Lyrical Killer. and Greg in Green Bay. I heard those two are cutting an album together. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
We'll see. So, all right, we got some official news here too, boys, as Robert, one of our loyal listeners, always give us the update on what officials are going to be calling the game, or the head official, I should say. And this week it is, Tim, I've got it ready for you, man. You ready for this? Drum roll. Bang. Alex Kemp. Look at this guy right here. I mean, this guy eating his Fruit Loops with skim milk. There's no doubt about it. Look
Absolutely.
At this. We're going to give him some tonight, as Brett Favre once said. All right. So let's look at
that photo you picked too, because it's him clearly like giving the thumbs up while he's on the phone with, the league office or whatever in the earpiece.
Two more
Raj. No problem, Raj.
Yeah.
No
Two
problem.
more holdings. Got it.
So here's where they rank his crew. Okay. Let's just go down the leaderboard here. Cleet Blakeman is now the leader in the clubhouse at 15.08 penalties per game. Then it's Craig Rolstad at 14.93. Then Sean Hockley, old Bicep Jr. over there, 14.38. Then Brad Rogers at 14.17. Then you've got Alex Kemp. So Alex Kemp is in the top 5 in terms of flags thrown per game. His crew has officiated 13 games this year, and again, he's averaging roughly 14 flags per game. So there is your official referee update. And again, shout out to Robert. Thank you for keeping us informed, sir.
So in other words, if we think for a second they're going to let them play, they're not. So we've got to be on our best behavior on Monday night.
Definitely. And if there's one thing that could possibly allow the Saints to stay in that game, it could be something like that. Timely penalties, right?
Yep.
So, and look at Ron Tolbert. Tim, look at this, dude. My man, he's dropping every week. He's now down to 14.07. He's officially out of the top 5. You think he watches the show? And I'm tired of him talking crap.
Yeah, I was going to say he's probably tired of catching all the heat.
Yeah. So if I want to keep my job, I need to be middle of the road.
Yeah. He's thinking, man, it's either that or I just, shoot another season of Reno 911 and just
C's get degrees, That's all I need. Yeah.
Exactly right. All right, let's go to Twitter. Y'all ready? Let's kind of see what we've missed while I was out of town here, and kind of get caught up. I thought this was cool. Dynasty Dad actually quote tweeted me, and he threw some stats in here and said, Josh Jacobs versus New Orleans. All right, since week 11, 24 fantasy points per game. That's second best in the league. 119 touches. That's first in the league, guys. Since week 11. If these numbers are correct from Dynasty Dad, and I'm sure he's an upstanding pillar of the community here, 119 touches is the most in the league, and that's Josh Jacobs. All right. 9 touchdowns. That's first in the league as well. Facing the Saints defense that allows 14 rushing touchdowns. That's fourth most in the league. 109 rushing yards per game. That's ninth most in the league. And 4 multiple rush touchdown games. It sounds like, boys, our boy Josh Jacobs, it says soon to be 5 as Jacobs smashes you into the next round of glory, and you're going to get this kind of look right here. So what do you guys think? You think it's going to be a big night there Monday night? Probably going to have, I think we're going to have like a 20-30% chance of some snow flurries. It's going to be colder than a well digger's booty. We're going to be out there ready to roll, right, Tim? Let's run a rock.
Absolutely. And hey, get Josh involved in the pass game too. Get him touches on those swings and some of those quick hitters. But whatever we got to do to get him going, because we have a dynamic offense, but like that, Josh Jacobs he's the motor. I mean, that guy is the engine that drives this offense. It really allows Jay Money and the boys to cook on the receiving end based on how he's running the ball. So I would anticipate at least another run heavy approach, I would say, or prioritization of the run as we take on the Saints. It's also a good way to kind of, get your O-line, get that blood pumping, get them downfield run blocking early, get in the game, and hopefully no goofy penalties, especially with this officiating crew.
Yeah. Emilio, what do you think, man? Josh Jacobs against the Saints here. Looking good, at least numbers-wise, right?
Absolutely. What's he, over 300 carries for the year, I think, right now? Let's see. Looks like on weekly plays he's at 276. I mean, the dude is he's a workhorse. The fact that we're able to use him like that, and he's put in probably, pushing a third, close to a half of his runs just since week 11, being able to use him and not be worried or he like every time he gets up after a run, it's like, all right, feed him again. It's like the Zeke where he sits there and just churning just give me the Campbell's Chunky Soup and let him go to work. That's what Josh Jacobs is. So I love that. I love that we have that ability. We're going to need it as, we chase on. But like Matt always says, every time they try to bring it up, every time they try to bring Matt past today, or what's right in front of him, hey, you're chasing the playoffs. Hey, you got Vikings coming up. He shuts it down so fast. And I feel like you have to keep the players focused. And if he's, he can't be like, what do we always say? Like when you're talking to the media, you're talking to your team. He has to keep them on track. That's all we need to do is pay attention to the 24 hours in front of you, stack those days, and then we'll see where it leads us. We cannot be worrying about chasing, everybody else.
Definitely. Respect Orange just says win and you're in. Josh Jacobs going heavy before the playoffs. I like it, man. I like it as a game plan. Of course,
his pass blocking also has increased since that week. He was 70 in the first game. Then he had a 46, a 30, a 44, a 27, and a 25. Then skipped a game. Then we went 54, 76, 75, 80, 55, and a 76. That is key, man. Everything's starting to come together. He's getting the offense. He's liking being behind Jordan. It's awesome.
I like what Eric Sutherland says here. Jacobs, Wilson, and Brooks all go for 100. I would love it, and really that it's funny. He kind of like, took the point right out of my head as I thought of it. It's like, if we're going to pound the run and we don't have any question about Josh Jacobs' durability, but if you want to manage workload with a heavy run attack, start giving Wilson and Brooks some more carries, man. These guys have proven they can run the ball and run it effectively. And if that helps manage some of the load with Josh Jacobs, keeping him fresh for the playoffs, then I'm all for it. Running back by committee. Let's go.
Definitely. I'm on board too. And again, if you're saying all three of them are going to run for 100, I think Eric's just kind of being tongue-in-cheek here. I'm too drunk to taste that chicken, Ricky Bobby. You know what I mean? But I want them to have every opportunity to do that. Right?
He said, but I could probably buy the Kirby if Jacobs goes for 100 and Wilson and Brooks go for 50. Maybe we could talk about it.
Great point. CJ into the chat says, anyone else still smiling due to how that defense just dominated? Yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. There you go. It's just the best Instagram post ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, and they played complimentary. We talk about that all the time. The way that they were so organized in their pass rush, and the one play where they were not organized, the only play I noticed on the defensive line where they were unorganized with their pass rush was when Devonte Wyatt was supposed to run a TE, I'm pretty sure, and he just said, hell with it, I'm going to hit him with a spin move and go hit this quarterback real quick. And when it works, all right, big dog, go make a play, all right? And he may have that freedom from the coaching staff. We talked about that. But, yeah, I agree, man. I think the defense looked great. What about you guys?
Yeah, I swear the only other bad thing that you said, so pass rush, that was probably the only bad one. The only other bad thing the defense really did was that Charbonnet run, right? What was it, like the 20, 25-yard touchdown run? That's the only other downfall the defense had. Besides that, you kept them to field goals. And, I mean, they were holding it down. And when we needed a bailout, they bailed us out. When they were marching at the end of the second, they got us a pick. It's like everything that we needed the defense to do in that moment timed up, and it just worked.
Yeah, for sure. Tim, I know you have no problem talking about the defense at all, man. It just seems like they're peaking at the right time. Everybody's comfortable in the scheme. Carrington Valentine, man, I hope he's on the field. I really do. I hope he's, getting the majority of the snaps. I think at a bare minimum, there's no way they'll give him less snaps than he did this last game, right? I mean, he just absolutely balled out. So
I agree. Hopefully we can get some of these guys healthy too, and get this defense closer to full strength. And then we're really going to be a force to be reckoned with. But, I've said this for a number of years, man, that's what has stopped us from getting over the hump. It's the defense. And now the defense is starting to click. And I hope we're ready. Get your seatbelt on and let's enjoy the ride, because this young Packers defense is up and coming right now for sure.
Yeah. And you guys know Spencer Rattler, it sounds like he's been named the starter this week. 2-0 for this says Rattler. I hardly know her. So
Spencer Rattler. That sounds like a name from like a football movie. Like somebody wrote that name.
Yeah, right.
That's a real name. That's like
absolutely.
Like Varsity Blues, right?
Yeah, Blue Mountain State.
Johnny Moxon. Come on now. That's a quarterback name straight out of Hollywood script writing right there.
I don't want your life.
I don't want your life.
As me and my buddies say down here, we always joke. We go, I don't want your wife. That's what we always say. Is what it is. But as far as Spencer Rattler, we talked about this on one of the previous podcasts. It's a dude that came out of high school, one of the highest recruited quarterbacks in the nation. Goes to Oklahoma, lost his job, goes to South Carolina, beat Kentucky. When I actually went to watch Spencer Rattler versus Will Levis. Boy, you talking about a crap show, right? For some reason, I was thinking this is going to be a hell of a quarterback matchup here. These are going to be two NFL players. They are, but they kind of suck. All right, we'll just leave it at that. But Spencer Rattler, he showed some things in that last game, right? I mean, he took them right down. Emilio, we talked about this. He goes right down the field. Yeah. And, of course, they chose to go for two instead of – I mean, he led them on what could have been the game-winning drive, right? Or at least the game-tying drive. They chose to go for two. So I don't think you should really overlook Spencer Rattler. I think he's got a great arm. He's got an NFL arm. It's just, can he keep it together up here? That's the big thing, right?
Yeah, and I mean, that's when we played him last year. That was the Buffalo Wild Wings game, and that one was that was my birthday weekend. That was terrible. So I'm happy that and we were down 17-0 in that game. So you facing Rattler going into this game, I think that the defense just needs to play smart, kind of. We want to play the mind games like we were with Geno. If we can throw Geno off his game, we should be able to throw, Rattler off his game. If not, then we need to get pressure. We need to stop the run, and all those things are going to be, we need to work as a whole unit, stopping either run and pass or both, and creating that shell over the top. I think that they have it, but it's one of those trap games where it's like, hey, we can kind of walk past them, and I think that's why Matt's sticking his ground on. You just got to go day by day because we can't even play Sunday. You know what I mean? So it's like we still have another day on top of that. You guys really have to be focused.
Yep.
Drew D in the chat said there was a NASCAR driver named Dick Trickle. Did you guys know that? That's a real thing.
Speaking of crazy names. Yeah.
Saying.
Legendary driver Dick Trickle. Yep.
Dick Trickle sounds like you need to write a prescription for that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I could be wrong. But anyway. Drew D also says, who replaces Bullard this week? I think they'll roll the way they did last week, Drew. I think you'll have Keyshawn in the slot, and you'll have Carrington Valentine and Eric Stokes on the outside. Now, if Jair plays, then you'll probably see split reps between Eric Stokes and Jair on the outside. What do you guys think? You think they'll kind of roll it out the same way, or you think they may switch it up? Because it sucks because, like, Nixon to me has played way better on the outside, right, than the slot. But in this situation here, with Bullard being out, most likely being out if he hasn't already been, announced out, I think you got to go with Nixon in the slot, right?
Yeah, this is how injuries affect your team, right? Keyshawn's looking good on the boundary, and we're trying to develop Bullard and see what he's got in the slot, and then Bullard goes down, and then we need Key back in the slot, and it's just how it works. And then on top of that, you're missing your star corner, your number one corner. That certainly complicates things in the secondary. Much like we looked at in this linebacker room, we see Edrin Cooper just emerge and have a lights out game. And then, of course, Quay gets hurt, and we don't know when we're going to see Quay on the field again. So, a lot of this, one step forward, one step back, kind of playing this dance, who's going to step up. But, I think to answer Judy's question, I'm with you, Clay. I think we don't reinvent the wheel here. If it worked against Seattle, it should work against New Orleans. And kind of keep that same lineup and just play disciplined football. You can't take Spencer Rattler for granted, like you said, but you can also trust that your defense is going to get him to make a mistake or two, and then you just capitalize on it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Michael Smith in the chat says, I think they should sit Alexander until the Vikings game. I don't think that's a bad idea. Again, I'm not saying you overlook the Saints, don't get me wrong, but, the way the defense played last week, you can continue off that success and let Jair sit for at least another week. I think this week would technically make 6 weeks, right, Tim? We did pretty much confirm that, right?
Yep.
So that's how long it took. What player was it that it took? It was a receiver, right, that had the same injury that took 6 weeks. Puka Nacua, I think.
Nacua, yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah, if you sit him again, that's probably the way I'm leaning too, Michael. It really is.
I honestly wouldn't mind putting him out there for a few plays. Because, it was a soft tissue, right?
PCL, I think it was.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So either way, I would want to get a little weight on it, test out game speed, where maybe, like you were saying, you don't want to look past the Saints, but if he's, we drop him into cover 3 and he's not ready, he gets beat over the top. I'd rather that happen rather than against the Vikings. Something we can kind of clean up and adjust. If he doesn't feel, I think it's going to be one where he probably dresses for game. He walks around on it. If it doesn't feel right, hop off. But like I said, if he needs the rest of the season, regular season, to get that thing hammered out and feel 100% comfortable, take it. I just need you to play in the playoffs. Yep. That's all I'm asking out of Ja at this point. Like, I don't need you to force yourself back on the field. We can get a clip and a quote after, once we win the first playoff game kind of thing. So let's not try to force it just because you're trying to get back out there before the season ends. We need you in the playoffs more.
Although, I mean, devil's advocate, Minnesota would be a good place to, test the wheels out.
Push it, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. You're playing a playoff team, a divisional game, and then you're playing in a dome. So, we know how the artificial turf is on guys' knees in this league. So if you really want to know where he's at, maybe getting him some reps against the Vikings and kind of see how it goes. If he can, if the knee holds up on that turf, maybe he's good to go moving forward. But, I'm on the fence. I like the idea of like giving him time, but I also like the idea of like, this dude needs to see the football field. It's been, a long time since he's played ball,
Yeah, no, I'm down to scale him up. That's all I'm saying is if he needs it, take it. But if not, scale him up. I would stay starting this week, scale him up playing wise. But if he needs the rest of the season, fine, take it. But yeah, our defense is better with him out there.
For sure. We're not going to throw him out there and have him taking 50 snaps right away anyway.
No, it ain't. Yeah. So. That's not a thing for sure. You hit the nail on the head with the turf, dude. Oh, God. That's terrible. I can't. Yeah. If we get another knee injury off turf, I'm going to lose my damn mind. I'm just telling you, man. It drives me insane. All of the emphasis on player safety, and it's like, how many people are going to shred their knees on Detroit's surface before we go, okay, yeah, let's focus on player safety here, right? So, M. Smitty in the chat, evening PTA posse, Smitty in the house. Everybody sit up straight. All right, act like you got some sense. The man has arrived. Respect Oranges, home Oladipo time. Here's the thing. We kind of threw the idea around, going into last week, would they maybe put Evan Williams in the slot a little bit, put Ola Home Depot at strong safety, possibly. But, I mean, they put that to bed really, really quick, right? I mean, it was Evan Williams, Xavier McKinney at safety, kick Keyshawn to slot, and obviously let Valentine and Stokes play on the outside is what it really felt. I think they'll stick to the same plan there for sure. So Drew D said Jair was listed as a full participant today, and I think I've actually got the injury report. Let's just jump right into that since Drew brung it up here real quick. Let's kind of see what the injury report looked like. Boys, this is nice to look at.
That's a short receipt right there.
Oh, baby. Getting healthy for the playoffs. Jair Alexander with the knee, full participation. Corey Ballantyne with the knee, limited participation. Javon Bullard with the ankle, did not participate. Luke Musgrave with the ankle, limited participation. And Quay Walker with the ankle did not participate. So I feel really comfortable saying Javon Bullard and Quay will be out this week. Yep. Luke Musgrave, right, we're 7 to 8 days, maybe a little longer into this 21-day window. So if it's not this week, it'll be next week, right? Yep. We're going to get to see some 88 out there on the field as well. But, Tim, this injury list, bro, this made me had me grinning like a possum in a dumpster, man. This is awesome.
It's nice to see it, kind of a little bit shorter list. But, man, are those some big names for us on this list, though? These are guys you want on the field. I definitely think Musgrave being, a guy that, we don't know this week, next week, he's going to be back in the fold at some point. And he would be a guy that, again, you're not going to throw him in 50 snaps a game, but you're not going to throw him in for 3. I'd want to get Musgrave out there, kind of get him going a little bit and see, because that's another weapon for us in that tight end room, the way those boys have been playing right now. Especially, we talked about Musgrave. He's basically like an extra receiver. He's a receiving threat in this offense. So be nice to see him back out there. But, yeah, I am so glad that we've got a lot of guys off of that list and hoping for the best with Quay, man. It's looking, kind of up in the air right now. Hopefully he improves at some point here, and we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Daryl in the chat says, oh, yeah, they also have Omar Brown on the practice squad. Omar Brown, was he not a rookie this year?
Nebraska, yep.
I believe, right?
We were picking him up like 200, around 200, or, pick 200.
He was on our draft board, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had him pretty far
one
down
of
the
our
list.
draft boards. Maybe not Clayton's. Might have been on mine or something. The
We
rookie
had him
board.
toward the bottom of the list. There's no doubt about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I remember we were picking him up past 200.
Yep.
So,
That's a
measurables.
good point though from Daryl, because that's what we talked about. Him being, guys like that are depth, and you may need depth down the stretch here as we start seeing how banged up our secondary is.
If Kalen needs to show up or what, who needs to come up and play. But yeah, I think that if we could get Ola Home Depot a couple reps, I wouldn't mind it. But Tim, to your point with Musgrave, I think that we're probably going to be splitting, or he'll get a third of whatever Sims is running, and probably the passing plays out of Sims running. So, if Sim gets 30 plays a game and he's doing 20 of them run block and he's staying in for those 20, Musgrave will get the 10 passing and just work them in that way. But I just looked real quick. Last year, week 15, so week before, we had 14 people on the IR. So, I mean, that's why I was going to ask, how do you think that strength and conditioning decision has landed us this year? Are we happy with it?
Well, I'll tell you this. You as soon as you make a change like that, you start looking too closely at injuries. Like, like for instance, you guys remember the pecs popped, right?
Yep.
All the pecs popped, and we lost. Who was it? We lost Tucker Kraft, and we lost Zach Nom, right?
Yep. And Matt LaFleur.
And then it was my understanding while I was out of town that Jordan Morgan was officially placed on IR, right, in his year. So that was a shoulder. So it sounds like, and both of those guys and the coach who popped the pecs did it on bench press, right? So that throws a red flag, just like the hammies in the past. Now the hammies seem to be they're out now. We're good, right?
Well, but Cooper's the only one who was dealing with the hammy, and then Marshawn Lloyd, right, hamstring as well. Got something going on with that left leg. So,
and
I know what you mean, though, Clayton. You don't want to trade one set of injury issues for another, right? We don't want to just go from lower body to upper body injuries.
Because there were four shoulder injuries that week. But last year, week 15, 4 shoulder injuries, 2 hammies, a quad, an ankle, a knee, and a toe.
And a partridge in a pear tree. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's crazy. You're right, because we want to look at it in one light or the next, but it's just how are they approaching it as a team? What have they done to get it better? Because I know that a lot of people talk about Philly being way out of shape, right? Then they changed up their strength and conditioning, and now they're in better shape rolling into the postseason this year than they were last year.
Right. Exactly. All right, guys, that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour 2. We appreciate y'all.